Hello, dear viewers. Welcome to Geonodes daily series where we do something cool in geometry nodes and we try to do it as fast as possible. Also, welcome to the sixth part of this mini series where we recreate this cool sci-fi reactor effect that has so many things going on, as you can see. And today we are going to recreate that exploding effect that you just saw, and that's gonna be awesome. This is a very versatile effect that you can have. And although I recommend you watching the other parts that deal with what you see now on screen, you can just watch this video and you will learn how to make a very cool effect. This exploding effect that you can control with the parameter, and you can get something like this that you see here. And it's really spectacular, especially if you play with material and such. So you can download this project file from Gumroad. As you can see here, it has a lot of parameters that you can play with, and you can also support the channel by doing that. So thank you very much to all of you that decided to do that and download this project file. Also, a big thank you for the people subscribing to this channel, liking the videos and commenting on them. Especially commenting, it's really important to help me figure out how can I make better videos for you guys. So without further ado, let's go to our project. This is where we left off, and now it's the question where we want to position everything. So far we just stuck things before the effect, but now we have this effect of breaking stuff into pieces by using this. So we can go all the way to the back, and as we are already accustomed, if you watch these videos, we will create a new frame and call this crates and breed exploding FX. Excellent. This will be the housing for all the nodes. So like I showed you earlier, we want to decide the end position of our pieces from the exploding effect. So how can we do this? Well, let's do a geometry set position. I'm gonna plug it here, and now this will control the position of everything we see here on screen. So in order to make things the way we want to do it, we will need something random. So I'm gonna take a random value, switch this one to a vector, and if we plug it here into the position, well, everything crumbles because first of all, we have these 0 to 1 values and we want something else. So let's say from -20 on this axis to +20, and that's gonna give us a width. And we also want to do something with the height. So let's say something from 0, it's okay for now, and let's put it like, I don't know, 15 on the top. So now we get this jumbled mess of stuff, as you can see here. It doesn't look very pretty, and let me do something like this to get some width. We get this problem that you see here, this jumbled mess. So how can we fix this? Well, there is actually a very easy fix for this. Right now we generated a random position value for every point in our geometry. So let me show you this. Now we have a a point for generating a random position for every point in our geometry. So that's why we get this mess here. 1 second, I want to go a little bit back to reduce the number of piles. So let's say like 5 to get less geometry here. Okay, number of piles, number of crates, let's say like 10. Okay, now we have less geometry and the viewport is more responsive. Going back to our setup, like I said, we displaced every single vertex of this, but we don't want that. We want to displace these pieces that we have here, the triangles that form the crates or the tiles that form the bridge. This is what we want to displace. So how can we fix this geometry deformation that we see here? How can we make this go for each and every piece? Well, we have to play with this ID, so we will generate a random value, not for each vertex, but based on something else. And there is a very easy way to do this. It's a node called mesh island, and this is basically generating value for each distinct mesh island, meaning a piece of geometry that is not connected to another piece of geometry. So as soon as we do this and we use this island index, we will get something. Let me save. You may have noticed that all the geometry disappeared, but that's okay. This happened because our setup doesn't have a reference point anymore. So basically everything got lost. But that's an easy fix because we have to do a mixing of the start and end position for our effect. So for now we can use mix RGB because we don't have a mix vector yet, but it's working just nice with this. So let's connect this random value here and let me add an input position as a starting position. And as soon as we do this, we get this. And it's still a jumbled mess if we give up on this island index that is giving us a number for each island, meaning each piece of the geometry. So now we have this nice setup that is basically our explosion. As you can see, if we go to 0, we get the original geometry. If we start to go to 1, we just get to the final position of this geometry. As you can see here, this exploded one. And of course, the values from this node can control exactly where the pieces end up being. And this being an exploding effect, I wanted none of the pieces to go down. I wanted all of them to go up. You can even make them go more up, something like this. And now they will do this. So that's all nice, but it's way too uniform. As you can see, everything moves together. But this being a field value, a diamond, meaning that we can push a value or factor value for each and every piece of this geometry, that means we can do something to randomize this effect. So that's just exactly what we are going to do now. But first I want to go to this node value and give it a green value. So we know that this controls something, a parameter. And it's time now to do our random factor. And for that, I'm going to use, of course, another random value. 0 to 1, it's just perfect. Again, we have this jumbled mess problem, but we already know how to fix it. We can just let me push this one here, this one set up here, push this one here, and we can use the same mesh index, and now we get this nicely put here. But we would like to control this factor. So how can we do that? How can we control the factor? Well, okay, we need a math node, and I'm gonna plug it here. And we want to add something to this value. So what do we want to add? Well, we can add any value that we want. So if we start at -1, nothing will happen because the maximum number here will be 1, and 1 plus -1 gives us 0. So that means we get the original position. But as soon as we start to add something, so let's say if we add 0, that means is basically like not having this node. And if we start to add all the way to 1, that means that the random value 0 becomes 1 and we get the full effect. So basically we have a slider that we can control our explosion effect right now with the added randomness. So let's do this point now. Let's see how we can expose this value to the modifier stack. So first we have to add a group input. I'm gonna give it a color. Okay, too easy, see this one. And I'm gonna plug this value here. And now in this end panel, if we go to the group tab, I have this value that I can rename to exploding effect. And now this exploding effect, I want to limit the values from 0 to 1 to make it a factor from 0 to 1. That's gonna make it easier for us to understand what's going on here. So now we have this. As you can see, even at 0, we don't get what we need. But that's an easy fix. We can now add a map range node, plug it here, and let's say we have this input of 0 to 1. Let's make it from -1 to 1. So now on the outside we have a 0 to 1 factor, easy to control, but on the inside we have the values that we actually need to make this thing working. So let's put the default to 0 here. And we see at 0 we get this, and at 1 we get our exploding effect. Very, very nice effect. And you can use it to recreate this project, or you can use it to do whatever you want. Now we have the tools to do this. Just remember, if you have separated mesh like we did before with using a split node, edge node, and all the good stuff, to sever the geometry like we did for this bridge that we have here. We did the split edges so we could break it into faces basically. If you have that, this effect will work just fine no matter what geometry you have. And this mesh island node will make sure that you get a random value per face, not per vertex. So that's exactly what you basically need. So this is it for today. In the next video, I want to do something else. Let me put this one to 0. I want to put the orbs in the demo inside of this, and that's gonna be interesting because it's a little bit more challenging than you think. How you can extract the position of each crate that at some point is an instance, then it's a mesh, and then gets deformed, but you just want to get its position, and then you want to apply some other effect to those orbs that you put inside. You don't want to break them, you just want to move them. So that's what we are going to do in the next video. So until then, thank you very much for supporting this channel by purchasing the project files, by subscribing, liking the videos, placing comments, all of that. It's really, really helpful. So thank you for doing that. And until the next tutorial, have a nice day. and happy blending.